Okay. View from beginning. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to my video presentation on cotton gin. Hello, welcome to my video presentation on the cotton gin. So let's get... Hello, welcome to my video presentation on the cotton gin. So first I want to start off with the man behind everything, the inventor, and his name was Eli Whitney. And Whitney was born on December 8th, 1765 in Westborough, Massachusetts, and passed away on January 8th, 1825 in New Haven, Connecticut. He was an American inventor, manufacturer, and engineer, and is most known for, of course, the cotton gin and the concept of mass production and interchangeable parts. And a little fun fact, in 1900, he was awarded the Hall of Fame for Great Americans. So a little bit of backstory on the inventor. His father was a farmer, and even at a young age, Whitney proved to himself that he would be a talented inventor as well as a mechanic. He even went to design and build a nail forge and a violin at this young age. Later on in his life, he attended Yale College, which is now known as Yale University, and he graduated at Yale in 1792. After graduating from Yale, he traveled to the South where he received an invitation to stay with Catherine Greene on a plantation near Savannah, Georgia. While Whitney stayed there, he began to learn about the cotton production and the challenges and difficulty that cotton farmers would go through on a daily basis. So the cotton gin machine was eventually invented in 1793, and pretty much an amazing example of something that was directly called for by demand from the people, because there was no real way of cotton being mass produced and produced in such an easy and cheap way. And a fun fact is a number of historians actually believe that Catherine Greene actually devised the cotton gin, and Whitney only built it and applied it to the patent. And this can be backed by the fact that women were not even allowed to file for patents at this time in history. So this fact would make sense. So a little bit how it worked. The cotton gin kind of worked like a strainer. It would run through, the cotton would run through a drum, usually made out of wood, with a series of hooks that would catch the fibers and drag them through the mesh. This mesh would be so fine that the seeds of the cotton would not be able to go through, and only the fibers were able to be pulled through with ease. And this was all done by cranking a lever on the side of the machine, and it produced up to 50 pounds of cotton every day, which was a mass increase from before. And so in order for the cotton to be usable, the seeds and fibers, they have to be separated first, which is why this machine does what it has to do. And it used to be completed manually, so this would cause for long and brutal hours of most likely slave work, and this would be all very inefficient and difficult. Yes, before the cotton gin, other devices were made to produce cotton, but they worked on a much smaller scale than the cotton gin. And so the cotton gin allowed for the seeds and fibers to be separated at an accelerated speed with more ease compared to doing it manually and these other devices that were made before. And cotton allowed us to make clothes, homeware, bed sheets, things that we use on a daily basis on a whole mass production level. So as it was produced, it just started to become more and more popular as people realized how important it really was. As in 1794, Whitney received his patent for the cotton gin. So this allowed Whitney and Miller, who was Green's plantation manager, where they formed a cotton gin manufacturing company. And the plan was to send out all these cotton gins around the South of America and put them into plantations so that farmers could use these to produce cotton more efficiently. And problems started to occur as Whitney and Miller wanted large percent of the farmers' profits, and the farmers wanted nothing to do with this. So pretty much they started to construct their own cotton gin machines, and they even ended up being more efficient and a general improvement on the original model built by Whitney. So even though the cotton gin had a patent on it, it had many loopholes at this time, and made it a big challenge to protect this invention from copiers like these farmers. But a few years later, the rules regarding patents were changed, so allowing it to be more protected. But by this time, Whitney's patent had expired, and he lost out on a ton of money. The fact that he lost a ton of money doesn't mean anything, because the cotton gin was still one of the most influential inventions, because it still worked and other people copied it and just made more and more and more. And since it was so successful, the South provided a large amount of cotton for domestic use, as well as exporting out of America. And since it was easy to produce lots of cotton, this process was nice and cheap, resulting in just a larger amount of profits. And since America had lots of cotton to go around, by the mid-19th century, cotton became America's leading export. So you can kind of get an idea how important the cotton gin was for America and America's economy, and kind of just shows how important this invention actually was. So just some positives for the cotton gin, it provided mass profits for the American economy, which makes a ton of sense, and a mass production of products started to come on board, like shirts, clothes, bed sheets, examples I listed before, and I'll get into some more examples later. And this also provided jobs, not only jobs on the plantations themselves, jobs for producing the cotton gin, and even jobs that are related to clothes, all these types of things that cotton comes from. So it just provided an insane amount of jobs for the American economy. And of course, a great positive impact is that the mass production of cotton started to go up, which pretty much leads into everything else. And even cotton seeds were fed to cattle to make certain oils for other types of products. So obviously when there's positives, there can be negatives too. And the big, most important negative to the cotton gin was slavery. And since we saw this rise in the cotton industry, we also started to see more slaves being hired to work on these plantations and work the cotton gin in these machines. This obviously meant more slaves, more slave labor, poorly treated. Obviously this was a very bad thing that was happening, that we cannot overlook when talking about the cotton gin and the cotton industry in America. And this was all because slavery was allowed. It was very popular in this time, and it was by far the cheapest way of labor. So just some examples of cotton we can see nowadays, even before. We have pants, bed sheets, all that kind of stuff. Shirts, t-shirts, sweaters, socks. So clothing in general, you could pretty much make out of cotton. Cotton balls can be used in the medical field, even in the makeup, like cosmetics. Cotton balls have always kind of been very important and have seen many uses in society. And even things like fishing nets are used and made out of cotton. Filters, especially coffee filters, are made out of cotton. Certain oils, towels, robes, and even cotton swabs like Q-tips, like you use pretty much every day. So we can kind of see how important cotton is and how practical it is in our society and how important it is to have. And yeah, so I'm gonna talk about how it's impacted by interchangeability and mechanization. So it's obviously part of these two, as it requires the human precipitation to actually operate this machine and to farm it. And in the mechanizing field of farming, it greatly increased work on the farm and created many types of new jobs because of this. The cotton gin also uses a large amount of interchangeable parts, and the creator, Eli Whitney, was also the creator of the interchangeable parts concept and idea. So these are just all my sources for the presentation I just did. I want to thank everybody for watching. This will conclude my presentation on the cotton gin. Thank everybody, and goodbye.